So good evening, everyone. And I would like to thank you for coming to our Junior Achievement Bahamas alum webinar. My name is Selena Archer, and I represent Junior Achievement Bahamas, and I will be your host for this evening's session. So we are thrilled to have Star here with us, who I will introduce in just a second, to talk more about building your personal brand. I, for one, I'm really looking forward to hearing what Star has to say. So just a few housekeeping tips before we get started. So we'd like to request that you keep your mics muted for the duration of the speaker presentation. You can ask questions via chat because I know sometimes we will forget if we wait till the end, or you can actually wait till the end and you can raise your virtual hand and we will call upon you to ask your question. Remember, the presentation is being recorded and will be available for replay on the J Bahamas Alumni Facebook page group, also our Instagram page, and also will be sent to you via your emails that you registered for this seminar with. It will also be housed on the YouTube channel. Links to those pages will be put in the chat very, very shortly. Again, we would like to remind you that it is being recorded, and if you have your cameras on, then you are visible to other audience members. Just a little note here, J Bahamas is a non-profit youth organization with the goal of funding scholarships for our 2022 MDAs, as well as raising funds to ensure that our club programs, we have JA Elementary, JA for Junior, JA Aspire, all designed for students from K-5 to grade 12, and they are available to every student on every island in every school. So if you would like to donate to this wonderful cause, we will also put a link in the chat momentarily. And it is with great pleasure and excitement now that I get to introduce our speaker. So our speaker tonight is an alumni of the J Company program, BORCA, the host of Bahamas at Sunrise, a communications and creative consultant responsible for many of the country's leading campaigns, as well as a business owner and investor. And some of those companies are Braun, Blue Terra, and Eden Farms. A transformational coach who trains leaders on speaking, camera confidence, and personal style, a wife and a mother. Let's welcome this very impressive and phenomenal woman, Anastarcia Palacious. Anastarcia, please come in and take it away.
Of course. Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Always a blessing to just support JA. So thank you so much for having me, Selena. Thank you for the work that JA Bahamas continues to do. I was one of those students that did get a scholarship to start my university education through the Junior Achievement Program. And I credit it with so many of the areas in my life, even now down to being a public speaker and getting paid to teach people how to speak better, or even getting paid to do presentations. It all started with the J speech contest. So I credit Jay with so much, and it's just a blessing to be able to come back and just give in this way. And even if that's just sharing on, personal branding, which is so important. So I'm going to share my screen now, and throughout the night, if there are questions, I want you to type them in the chat. I may not get to them immediately, but if you can remember what they are, I will get some time for questions at the end. And Selena, of course, will be taking note of those too. So you can just type them and then, try to remember or scroll back up to find them as we carry on with the presentation. But I'll try not to keep you. I know it's dinner time, and for those of you that may be parents, maybe getting close to bedtime, so we'll get right into it. So the first thing I want to do is share the screen. And guys, every now and then my Mac just does the most and it doesn't share the appropriate thing. So let's see if it's gonna, actually work with me today. Share screen. No, it's not sharing. Why would you do this to me? No, this thing won't share okay, guys. I'm sharing my screen, but you guys can. That's my daughter's report card. We don't want to share that. Can you guys see? Selena, give me a thumbs up if you can see the presentation. Yeah, awesome. Great. Good. That means we're cooking with gas. So let's present. Boom. So this, of course, is a conversation on personal branding, which I'm so happy to be having with all of you today. And it's a beginner's guide on how and why to brand, right? And of course, Selena gave some great facts on me. Thank you so much for that, Selena. And I've got, a couple years of public speaking experience. I'm only 33, but I've been speaking since I was 4. So it's been a while. And then of course, 14 years in marketing, PR, branding, 8 years of TV. And then I call it failing forward in radio, which is a fun personal joke, but a wonderful story of just learning, right? The things that work for us and the things that don't. So basically, a personal brand is a widely recognized and largely uniform perception or impression of an individual based on their experience, expertise, competencies, actions, and or achievements within a community, industry, or the marketplace at large, right? And so this gives us a really good definition as to what a personal brand is. And the process of personal branding is conscious and intentional. And I want you to recognize those words. You can type them in chat for me right now. Conscious and intentional, because it's important, right? That this thing does not just happen. And if you just allow life to happen, then you're going to get the results that you've probably been getting all along. You have to be intentional and conscious about the things that you're creating, because if not, people form an opinion anyway. So I always tell clients that it's up to you to guide the story. People will always make up their own stuff. And in the absence of information that you provide them, they're going to just think what they want to think. And so it's critically important that you are conscious and intentional. Y'all make sure that that's typed up in the chat for me so that I can know you are still with me. Throughout the night, I'm going to ask you to just respond and react. I don't like talking to myself. This virtual thing is already done enough to us. So it's important that we get to share with each other, even if it's just typing in the chat. So thank you, Ajua, my good friend, for typing intentional. Thank you so much, Selena. Conscious and intentional, great. I can see that you guys are with me. It's conscious and intentional effort to create and influence public perception of an individual by positioning them as an authority in their industry, thereby elevating advance their career, increase their circle of influence, and have a larger impact. Ooh, and I think I wrote this definition myself. So that's actually pretty good. That's good for me. I like that, right? I don't have no quote at the bottom of that. That's must be mine. I like that, man. But why does branding matter? We outlined it just now, right? We talked about if you want to advance in your career, then you have to do it. If you want to make sure that you become a person of influence, then you want to do it. If you want to have an impact on the world, then you have to do it. And you want to have the right relationships, the right people in your life, the right people you can grow with, then you want to make sure that your personal brand stands out. So I'm going to give you some examples of this. When I was, you know what, I'm going to save that. I'll give you an example of how it advanced my career later on in the presentation, because it fits something that I want to share with you. But I will talk to you about the influence for a quick second. I will never forget. My husband and I were heading to, I think, a church beach picnic out on Adelaide Road. And we were taking that new highway. I think it's called the Frank Watson Highway. And as we're going down this road, my daughter all of a sudden gets sick. She wouldn't have been more than like 9 or 10 months at this time. And all of a sudden she's bringing up her food. I'm in the front seat, my husband is driving, but we hear the retching and I turn around, his eyes on the road, and we realize the baby has brought up her milk. And so we get concerned and we pull over. Just as we pull over, we hear sirens. And we're trying to understand like what was going, like he might have been focused on the sirens. I'm just focused on the baby. We pull off the side of the road. He hops in the car. I hop in the car. And all of a sudden this police just like pulls up to us, right? And he pulls up to us just as we're taking the baby out of the carrier and like getting her into the trunk so we can try to like clean her up. And so the police is like, boss man, you was speeding, right? And my husband was like, so what are you talking about? Like, my daughter's sick. So his mind is so far away from the police. And the police is like, yeah, bro, you speeding, man. You coming down the highway, you can just drive however you want. And my husband is like, sir, I don't know what you're talking about right now. If you give me 2 minutes, I just want to make sure that my wife and the baby are okay. Like, she's not feeling well. She's thrown up. And the police is like, why you have my own turn, boy? This gal have a pacifier in her mouth. How she control her? Now, I don't know how that's connected, but this was the police concern. Anyway, at that point, I turn around to look at him to try to explain to him, like, officer, that don't even make sense. But as I turn around, he looks at me and he say, oh, you was lady from Bahamas at sunrise. You're straight, right? And so that's the blessing of being a person of influence, right? Sometimes it helps you to get out of speeding tickets that you should never have gotten because all you want to do is take care of your baby. But it's good to be a person of influence. It really does open doors for you and gives you the opportunity to further yourself and to further the causes that you want to have an impact on. Last weekend or 2 weekends ago, I had a conference with Charissa Monroe. It was our first one here in the Bahamas. It was called Speak and Lead. And one of our guests that flew in from Alumni to join us at the conference had heard a video that I posted on my Instagram a couple months ago talking about the importance of getting vaccinated. And just by her hearing that video, it caused her to do some things as related to her health She'd suffered a stroke of her own and was dealing with just a lot of her own health issues. But she managed to find the strength to show up to that conference. And it was the first time that she'd traveled since her own incident of sickness. It's the first time that she'd done it by herself. Throughout the conference, I asked my participants to do different things, including stand up and to share. And this was the first time since her illness that she'd been able to do any of this. But she said to me that it gave her back her confidence. It gave her back her courage. It helped her to realize how tenacious and strong she was, right? And so that's the impact we could have when we pursue our truth, when we share honestly and openly with people. So those are just two stories I want to share right now. And you'll see this one here that says, I met and married my husband and my baby daddy off of my reputation. And that, of course, is personal branding. But I'll share some more of that with you as we continue on as to why does branding matter. So in a nutshell, a brand is a story that other people tell. And so you have to ask yourself, and it's not about external validation or making sure that people like you, because my daddy taught us as kids, and I am so grateful to him for this. He would say to us all the time, people don't have to like you, but they ought to respect you, right? And that's a powerful thing. There might be some people who, your spirit, I don't know what type of spirit that is, but your spirit don't take to them. And they may not be your best friend, but that's okay. But you can respect the work they do. You can respect their work ethic. You can respect what they contribute. Y'all don't have to be friends, right? But you respect them. And so that's the thing about branding. If you're good at what you do, and if you sell it to the right people, you got to be able to deliver. Because some people are really great at airbagging, and then when the time shows up, they can't get anything done. So you got to be able to sell the brand, make sure that people are talking about you in a positive light so you can get the opportunities that God has called you to, and then show up and deliver on the things that you've promised by creating this brand that people see. So the question you need to ask yourself is, what do people say about you from a career perspective? And do they say anything at all? And if they don't say anything at all, then that means they probably don't notice you. And if they've not noticed you, that's not so much on them as it may be on you. Are you showing up enough in the right places to get noticed for the great work that you do? So that's just a question to ask yourself as we get into it. And these are the 4 points we're going to talk about today. There are 4 A's I found to building your personal brand. The first is audacity. You got to have it. Like you can't show up to this game half stepping. You have to bbelieve in what I call the big you. All of the things that you've achieved so far, things that you may not even recognize as achievements, but that they really are. Then you have to show up authentically. Like, you can't just airbag, right? That's what we were talking about last time. What is real for you? And a lot of us like to hide certain parts of ourselves. I'm very happy that social media has kind of shifted that. And so more people are open to being their true and honest selves. But there was a time in our country when people would, be ashamed to say where they've come from or what school they went to, because there was a classism that existed and a colorism that existed. But if you want to be real, if you want to connect with the real people, then you want to be authentic in your truth, in the stories that you share and the way that you communicate. And then you want to stay in action. Like action is the antidote to despair, period. If you find that you are sad, if you find that you're not feeling well, the minute you start to do something, you're going to find that all changes. So you want to stay in action. And finally, the last thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you are always being accountable. Accountability is going to be like the cream of the crop, right? It's at the very top of everything. If you aren't being accountable to yourself and to the goals that you've set, to the messages that you put out there, to the things that you say you want to do, you're going to find that you're not living to your fullest potential. And you are, in fact, not living up to that personal brand. So you want to be accountable. Let's talk about these some more. I told you guys 2 slides back that I'd let you know about the thing that happened when I was 25 as the marketing manager for Atlantis. And the truth of the matter is that at that point in my life, I had spent a year and a half in what Atlantis called its manager trainee program, an amazing program. I got to work with senior leaders, senior vice presidents across many different areas in the hotel. And in that period, one of the first areas that I worked in was housekeeping, and I got to work with tower managers and staff, line staff. It was really a great learning experience. But unfortunately, it brought back my asthma. And so I ended up getting really sick from just the constant dust and the things that needed to clean. And it was not good for me health-wise. So it was decided at that point in the program that I would not do the laundry part of the program, which is also a large exposure to dust, et cetera. And so I went in to do training and development, which I absolutely loved. I had no idea that it would be the thing that I now do, right? But it was my first doorway and segment into that. And it was the area that I loved the most. And at the end of the program, I really wanted to go into training and development, but I was told that I could not do it. There were no openings, right? The only place that wasn't opening was as a housekeeping tower manager. And you all are like, I think I just tell you all that I got asthma from doing that. So that didn't really make much sense to me. And so, time was winding down. I had a short window in which I would have to find this job. And I remember going into a particular area that I was interested in working in, because they did have an opening and it was in one of the parameters that I had been given to say that you need to work in one of these areas. I remember going into that interview, guys, very excited about what I could offer and being told straight up, no, you don't have what it takes. I already have someone in mind for this position. You can leave when you're ready. I kid you not. The woman's face was like straight as a day, cold as ice. And I left that interview feeling particularly defeated because my other option was either quit and have no job and no money, or go and get sick, which didn't seem like an option either, right? And so I asked myself, what can I do? And this is not on the slide, but for me, and I always tell people it's just my truth and I can only share my truth with you. Faith is so important. And my belief in God and the way that I pray and how I hear from him, purpose, is all of it is aligned for me. And so I gave it to God and I said, God, this ain't it. Your girl can't do this. And, this lady here telling me it's a no for her. So, I'm going to give it to you. Please let me know what to do. And my spirit, the spirit of God is so faithful. It was revealed to me that I should go and speak with a particular person I had met. And I had only met because as a manager training, somebody had allowed me to come into a meeting for high managers that they were having. And then I voiced an opinion based on a question they had asked, right? I guess most people don't talk in meetings and I wasn't technically supposed to be there, so maybe I should have been quiet. Never been my strong suit. So I had the audacity to show up in that meeting. That was the first thing. The second thing I had the audacity to do was to go to that lady and I presented her with a book of my talents. I showed her, and I was only maybe 2 years out of college at this point. So all the campaigns I'd organized in college, things I'd organized in high school, I showed her what my skill sets were, what my capabilities were, right? LinkedIn, I just started. So none of this stuff was on LinkedIn yet. And I didn't have it posted on Facebook or on Instagram, but I created an actual book and I gave it to her. And I said, if you know anything that's available within these areas that they say I can work in, I would love to pursue it. A week later, she comes back. She's like, listen, I've got it. We're going to make you the marketing manager for food and beverage. And at that point, I might have been 25 or something, but I was the marketing manager for the over 40 restaurants, bars, and nightclubs at Atlantis at that point. And I ended up doing what? Working right across from the lady who had told me, no, I have someone already. Sorry. She was like, come in my office to use my microwave because that's God, right? So you have to have the audacity. You have to believe in yourself. And the only way that one gets audacity is with a spirit of boldness, right? And they say fortune favors the bold. Boldness itself comes from confidence, and confidence comes with a certain level of certainty. I know that I can do this. I know I have these competencies. I know I have these skill sets. So how do you gain confidence? You have to learn, right? And once you learn something, you have to practice. You have to implement. So I've got these words here in bold for you. Know, then practice it. If you know it, if you know better, do better. So if you know it, practice it. If you learn it, implement it, and then do it consistently, right? Because a lot of us, we know stuff, we may do stuff on occasion, but it's the consistency that gives the brand, right? And so I want you guys to have the audacity to show up for what you want. And this is also tied back again to purpose. When you believe in yourself, when you believe in the plans that God says he has for you, when you trust that all things work together for the good, you're willing to take some bold steps and to do some bold things in order to get the things that you know you want to have. So you have to have audacity in order to show up. That's the very first thing. Because the other things that personal branding will call for in the 21st century, in the year 2022, is things like showing up online. And if you're afraid to show up online, you're afraid to be on Instagram, afraid to be on TikTok, afraid to be on LinkedIn and telling people the things that you're doing, you're going to miss out on opportunities, because there are people out there who are showing up and telling people the things that they're doing. And those are the ones that people remember. Right now, I don't want to make this seem simple. In the past 4 years in particular, I've invested a lot in self-development work in order to get this audacity in other areas of my life. But I really want you guys to know that you have to dig deep and you have to be bold if it is that you're going to show up and let people know who you are and what it is that you do. The next thing I want to talk about is authenticity. And this is something that's so critical to me. I'm actually going to ask you to type it in chat. All right. It's something that I learned from my coach, and she says it very simply. You have nothing to protect. So type nothing to protect, nothing to defend, type nothing to defend, and nothing to hide. You have nothing to protect, nothing to defend, and nothing to hide. Y'all, that's a Bohemian that's a little shaky, right? My coach is American. And, the culture a little different. It just is what it is. It just is. It is what it is, Ajua, right? And in our culture, we are taught that we have a lot to hide. that, you know, it's better to be seen and not heard, that nobody should know your business, that if you mess up, nobody should know. Like we are very much into hiding everything that we can, right? Or if somebody says something about us, be quick to stand up and defend. I didn't do that. And we want our point of view heard, right? And so this concept might be revolutionary to some of you, right, Helvana and Deandra? Like it may seem revolutionary, but I assure you that when you walk into this type of belief, it gives you this confidence again that I was speaking about with audacity. You have to believe that you have nothing to protect, nothing to defend, and nothing to hide. So whenever I go to conferences or even meet with clients, I let clients know from the bat, you know, this is a relationship. You and I will see. There's going to be a trial period because I may not work for you and you may not work for me, right? And I had a client that let me go, and I was very happy that the client let me go, and it happened within like this 2-month parameter because we weren't seeing eye to eye, right? It was my job to consult with the client, to advise the client what was best. The client thought they knew it was best. So in my mind, you don't really need me. Like you got you because you know what you want to do and you're interested in my word, and that's my job, right? And so there are some people who may say like, oh, they would never want other people to know, oh my God, a client fired me. But I'm a consultant. It happens. And so this is where the authenticity comes in. So now I use that story, that truth that happened, to talk to other people and say to them, now clients and I have disagreed in the past. We've went our separate ways. And so I just want you to know that. And so if at any point you feel like this is not working for you, you let me know. And if at any point I feel it's not working for me, I'll let you know, right? But when we are real about our stories, when we're true about who we are and the things we've overcome, it allows people to connect with us, right? So whether that's the right types of clients or even the right types of people, I'm not for everyone. And I had to learn this. And if you are words of affirmation, love languages can be hard because you may be a people pleaser. I'm a recovered people pleaser. Am I alone, right? If I'm not, raise your hand or do a little reaction button so I could just know. Or you can type a chat, you are not alone. So I know I'm not alone. But I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I had to learn that, like, thanks, Shay. Thanks for letting me know, boo. That it ain't only me. That, you know, not everybody is going to be for me. And I am not for everyone. And that's okay, because the people who are for me, the people that I'm meant to connect with, that I'm meant to build business with, that I'm meant to coach, will find me the true I am to myself. So there is a power, a great power of personal branding when you show up with authenticity. Authenticity looks like sharing stories of failure to triumph. It looks like celebrating success and celebrating the success of others. It looks like being real and constantly being real with yourself, digging deeper, doing the work to understand who you are and how you can be better. And it's not denying who you were 4 years ago or even a year ago. Y'all, my growth came so strong. Y'all may as well call me Garden of Eden, bro, because I'm not who I was a month ago. I done learned 10 lessons from that night and moving on, right? And so I'm hoping it's the same for you. But when we recognize that we don't have to hide our past, when we recognize that everybody got a past, when we stop looking for perfection in ourselves, it allows us to stop looking for perfection in others, and we can create more genuine relationships. So if you want to really grow online and to grow your personal brand, whether it's online or just word of mouth, you want to be real, you want to be authentic, right? And it really helps with helping you to craft the right stories, create the right text to put with your posts, even to just show up on camera and share when you're not afraid and you recognize you've got nothing to protect, nothing to defend, and nothing to hide. The third thing I want to talk to you guys about, this is the third A and the 4 A's of better brand building, is action. Y'all, if you ain't staying in action, it just ain't even making sense, right? And let's talk about this because it may seem far off, but I just want you to ask yourself some questions. How often do you try something new? How often do you determine when you're going to do something rather than letting other people dictate your calendar and schedule to you? How often do you feel miserable and annoyed because you're doing something you don't necessarily want to do, but you never stepped up and said no because you didn't create the proper boundaries, right? How long have you been stuck in the same job doing the same thing because you didn't try something else, right? Like all of that are the things that happen from inaction. It's when we're not conscious. And we started this conversation by talking about consciousness. We started this conversation by saying you have to be intentional. A lack of action means that you ain't doing none of that. And therefore you're getting what you've given, which is nothing new. So if it is that you want to start to see some changes in how your life looks, then you need to get in action around something. It could be something as simple as clearing your workspace, cleaning your car, making sure that you set a rule about how your car looks every time. You don't leave trash in it. It's the small steps every day that turn into greater habits, right? There's a great book out now called Atomic Habits. It's very popular. And I love one of the stories the writer shares. He talks about the British cycling team. Y'all a team? there was the pits. I don't know if I have any dolphin fans in the place. Don't mean to offend y'all, but I know Bahamians love their dolphins, so this is the closest thing I can connect with it. But the British cycling team hadn't won a medal in over like 100 years. And then all of a sudden they get this coaching, and the coach decides that he's going to start tweaking just little things about the way that they do stuff. So he got some doctors to stretch them properly and tell them how to sleep. He like changed the bike seats so that they were a bit more comfortable for the riders, like just little simple stuff. And over time, within 10 years, they won something like ridiculous, like almost every race that they were in, right? They won like the Tour de France 4 out of 5 years, which is like the biggest race of cycling. And so it's a really fun story. You guys look up both the book and the story, but it just talks about how the small steps, the small tweaks to our day, every day, back to consistency, changes what we do and how the results that we get. And so all I'm saying to you is that if you want to see some change, you have to stay in action. And action even comes back to, again, how are you showing up on social media? Just a tip here. I invite you to do it. If you want to see your social media numbers grow, I kid you not, go in there today, do what we call an audit. That would be a fifth bonus A, an audit of your social media. Look and see how many followers you have on whichever platforms you're on. If you're not on any platforms, that's your first action step to get on some platforms. But take a look at your Facebook numbers, take a look at your Instagram numbers, take a look at who's following you on LinkedIn. And just say, okay, my numbers right now is 200. My number may be 50, my number may be 2,000, whatever the number is. Write it down. And today is March 9th. This is March 9th. I want you to check this again on April 9th. Because what I'm going to challenge you to do is to just commit to showing up online every day for 30 days. Just a single post, right? And what you post doesn't have to matter. It can be a picture, it can be text, it can be a video. Video is going to do you so much better than anything else. Reels in particular, if it's going to be Instagram or even Facebook or TikTok. LinkedIn, believe it or not, the best and highest shared content on LinkedIn is video. But again, I'm not going to put the pressure on you. I just want you to show up and say something. It can be a quote of the day, a scripture of the day, whatever makes it easier for you. But show up and share. And you will find that over the next 30 days, your following will grow. I don't know what the percentage will be. It varies from person to person, but your numbers will not be the same and will be significant. And it's all because you showed up. And I use the internet as that example because that's how life works. The more you show up consistently, the more you grow. That's just action. And that's how it translates. But building a personal brand, again, if you're going to do it online, which is the best place to do it, is to show up with consistent content. 2 of my friends now are doing it, and I'm just so pleased to see that growth. One is Diasante Benaby. Y'all can follow her at diasante.co. She's the marketing mastermind behind the Bush Cook, right? And people just love all the stuff that the Bush Cook comes up with. She is finally seeing that in herself. She's been doing campaigns for years, but now all of a sudden she recognizes the value that she brings. And so she's sharing marketing and branding content tips online. She's been showing up consistently every day. I'm watching her numbers grow. Another friend of mine, both of them are my sorors. Her name is Iante Times, and Iante is in the compliance and finance world. And she's just been sharing more on compliance, right? And I'm looking forward to the day where she tells me, Star, I got another job offer, or Star, 5 job offers on the table. Not that I think she wants to go anywhere. She's perfectly happy with where she is, but because she's showing up in the space now and talking about the things that she owns, her business knowledge, her acumen, she, of course, is just gonna blow up because people will follow her for that knowledge, and therefore the opportunities and the jobs will come. When people know what you do and what you stand for, when you're authentic and you're real and you're sharing in your area of expertise, the personal brand is going to grow. So that's just a challenge I have for you. The other thing you can do to stay in action, I have it right here, is the 4 C's. Attend the conference in the area that interests you, right? And it could be something business related. So you're in marketing, you go to a marketing conference. But it could be something totally different. What's a passion project of yours? Do you like to write? Do you like to knit? Are you interested in stuff related to moms, right? There are millions of conferences around the world, all related to these things. And the beautiful thing about COVID is that it's put a lot of them online. Now, I still believe that it's awesome when you can actually travel and go and meet people in those places. But many of the conference organizers have become so attuned to being online. They've done a great job with breakout rooms and Facebook groups so that you can really have that second C, which is community. Guys, I went to one conference called Speak and Write to Make Millions back in 2018. It has absolutely changed my life. It's changed the way I've showed up online. It changed what I share. It's just changed my life. And I can't begin to describe all the ways that it has. But that was as simple as a conference. But that conference lent itself to a community, and the community of people that I met there are the people that showed up who were a part of the summit I hosted last year. Those are the people that are actually in my accountability group, which I'll talk about next. But there's this beauty that comes when you surround yourself with people who are passionate and interested in the same things as you. And while I love our islands, we're small. There's only 400,000 of us. All of us the same Grammy them, right? Like we all connected some way, which means that we think alike, and that's fine. But if you want new ideas, innovation, new ways to think about things, and you want to get into a conference so that you can be surrounded by a new community, so you can just think new thoughts and have new ideas to push you forward, even in terms of what you're sharing, the type of content you're sharing online. Of course, there's consciousness. So what are you feeding yourself? We are what we listen to. We are what we read. Directly what comes out from the things that we're reading comes into us and then out of us again. So you want to make sure that you're filling your mind and your thoughts with the right words so that you can show up in the right spaces with the right words. And again, if your personal brand is one that you're building around industry, then are you following the leading podcasts in your industry? Are you reading the latest papers coming out for your industry? Whatever it is that you want to be sharing and becoming known as the authority on, right? Because that's the whole point of branding, to be that authority. Then you want to make sure that you're filling your mind with that consciousness. And the last thing is that once you get your mind filled with all these things from the conferences, from the community, through the consciousness that you're putting into daily, you got to create. And a lot of people think that they're not creative, right? If you're an accountant, you may think that you're a math and science person. We've been taught this thing that, oh, I'm math and science, and oh, you're English and arts, as if they're separate, but they're not. There's this beauty that comes with creativity when you know your numbers, right? Like if you an engineer like my husband is, and you know everything as it relates to numbers and structures and how things look, now you can use all that science to just create new things. So I want to encourage you to create. Get creative on your personal pages. Get creative in how you brand yourself online, right? And you get to decide, is this going to be career related? And some people merge both over time. Some people keep them separate. I follow a woman online who is an engineer, and she makes about $200,000 doing that. But she also is an online influencer. She's a mom and a wife, and she's got these 3 beautiful daughters. And she makes about $200,000 a year just promoting stuff on her Instagram, right? And so you don't have to, you can do them separately, and she does them separately. I don't know anything about her engineering life except she was put it in the post. That's how I know she's an engineer, right? But her online profile is beautiful. It's fun. It's just all about her family. So really it depends on what you want this personal brand to be. And as long as you are open and you have the time to organize and create schedules so that you can do them both and it's not becoming a burden on you, then I just trust you to be creative, right? But there's opportunity here to have an impact on people, to have an influence on people, and then to increase your monetary wealth just by showing up online and staying in action. The final thing you want to do is make sure that you're being accountable to yourself and to the brand that you're creating. And so part of that creation of the brand and showing up online all the time and being accountable to the message you're given is going to be more creative, right? Showing up in spaces so people can hear you and learn from you and you can serve them. That's what people want. People are, I remember that, and I'm a Christian, so again, I can only share my truth. But the Bible talks about, God, Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he's like, y'all pray to God would send some more people, man. Pray that he would send them because there's just so many people out there like lost sheep looking, right? And it's not that people are lost sheep, but people have a desire to grow. The human capacity and what we desire after our basic needs are met, according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is self-actualization. And so when you can teach people something, they want to know, they want to learn more. And that's in all areas of their life, whether it's textbook stuff like your business and career, or it's things like how to care for family and how to be fit and how to dress, right? Like you are a multifaceted person. And so all I'm saying is you get to create the brand that you want to have online and people will be drawn to it. It don't have to be millions. You could have 5 clients and they could pay your bills depending on your charging and your price rate. That's another conversation for another time, right? But if you are creating and you are serving and you are giving, then you're going to find that people are going to show up for you. So be accountable to yourself. Set goals, set targets, break them down into smaller goals, and don't overwhelm yourself, right? Your goal may simply be, I'm going to do, Star says, do 30 days of posting. That's my goal for the next 30 days. Wow, I've had some great results from that. Let me analyze those results. Which post did better than the others? Okay, so for the next 30 days, I'm going to do more of these posts, right? And over time, as you take the first step, you will find the staircase unfolds. But you've got to set the goals and you have to do. You have to be in the action. Everything you want in life is on the other side of doing, right? You got to do it. So be accountable. And the best thing in order to stay accountable is to have some people involved. A lot of us Bahamians, I tell nobody my business. Child, when you tell people things, they go and block you. It's a spirit of negativity. It's limiting beliefs. But again, that's another conversation for another time. For many people, that is true. So find some trusted people. Who are the people that you can trust? Sometimes you have to pay someone to trust them, and that's cool. That's what coaches are for, right? So if you are in the place where you can afford a coach, and there are coaches available all over the world at different price points, find a good coach who can help you to get to the next level. My coach has transformed my life. I kid you not, I am not the same. Some of it has been monetarily, but most of all, it's been personally, and you cannot beat satisfaction and joy in life, period, right? There's no price on that. So you can find a coach or you can find a mentor. And the difference is that a coach is going to tell you, a coach is going to pull from you. They're going to ask you questions that you figure it out yourself. They're going to challenge you. They're going to tell you when you can do something a bit better. They're going to push you to the finish line. A mentor is going to be someone that listens. They're going to give advice. Oftentimes they'll tell you how to resolve the problem yourself, right? And so a mentor is someone who was 20 steps ahead of you, 10 steps ahead of you, has been there and done that, and can tell you what to look for. Whereas a coach makes you see those things for yourself. They'll be 10 to 20 steps ahead of you as well, but they allow you to develop the muscle so that you can process these things on your own. So a mentor or a coach or both is excellent. And then what has really worked for me is accountability groups. I have a group of 5 people who are just absolutely amazing. And they have just kept me in transformation because of them, and seeing how far they're running, it keeps me going. Now, you guys may not notice this, but even in the Olympics, right, when a world record is broken, oftentimes multiple world records are broken at the same time. So like the Jamaicans, when they run, for example, if all of them are in a race and they come first, second, third, the 3 of them break the record. And the reason that they end up doing that is because they are so quick in pursuit of the person in front of them that everybody breaks the record at the same time, right? And so you will find that if you have an accountability group, if everybody's running, you running to keep up to, right? Their goal is to hold you accountable. So when you say, this is what I want to do by this month, when you get back together again, they're going to ask you, did you get it done? What were the challenges you faced? What were some things that went well? How can you improve for next time, right? And so I want to encourage you to find people that you can trust. And y'all don't have to be your best friend. Like your best friend may be your best friend because y'all been friends since y'all was 5. She may not care nothing about coaching or what choosing it. That may not be a thing. But she may be the funnest person in the world to have brunch with, right? So just recognize the differences in your life. You don't have to cut people off just because they ain't gonna be in the accountability group. That's not what everybody is for. But if you go back to those conferences, you find the right communities, you will find the people that can fit into that area of your life that can take you to the next level, right? And so this is why it's all interconnected. So have the audacity. Be bold enough to show up as you. And of course, that means you got to know who you are and what you stand for, right? But be bold enough to show up as you. Take all that knowledge you've gained. You don't need another degree. You don't need no more certifications. You got this. Stop trying to overqualify yourself. And especially for the women on this call, that's what we love to do, right? Like, oh, we got to get this and we got to get that. At time, our male counterparts in the call, they just showing up like, oh my God, this man, because they got that confidence. So you got to have that confidence that you know it, that you've been through it, that the experiences you've had as a wife, as a mother, as a friend, as a child, as a daughter, all of those things have taught you, right? So have the audacity to show up. Be authentic when you get there, when you're posting online. You ain't got nothing to hide or be afraid of. Use the stories of your failure to propel you forward and encourage and motivate those around you. Stay in action by going to conferences, furthering your knowledge in those spaces, building stronger communities, and being online, showing up consistently. And finally, just be accountable to the things that you say that you are, by making sure that you are also being accountable to your own growth through mentorship and coaching, and then creating some stuff and some deadlines and some goals and knocking them out of the park with the help of accountability groups to support you and hold your feet to the fire. So the next steps I want you guys to do, if you're serious about this, I want you to go and speak in front of an audience. One of the best ways to get your personal brand across is to just show up. The reason so many people know me and think I can do anything is because they see me on TV. I may be a louse, but people see you on TV enough, they feel like you're pretty good at something, right? Look at Kim Kardashian. She's a millionaire for showing up on TV, billionaire, right? And so you just have to show up. When you have great information and you tell one person, that's cool. But when you can speak one to many, many more people will know. And that's been the beauty of social media. That's how people get discovered, right? Because lots of people see it. I think about Issa Rae, for example, the actress who started with an online series and then went on to produce Insecure and has gone on to produce so much more because she showed up one to many, came to YouTube, and now her show's gone across the world, right? So I want you guys to speak somewhere, speak in front of an audience somewhere, speak on your Instagram profile, speak on your Facebook profile, go live, but start to show up. The second thing I want you to do is to find some sort of networking to get into. Look up a conference that you'd love to attend, even if you can't go this year because it costs more than you budgeted for. Plan for it for next year. Like, you are worth the investment in yourself, right? But find a conference, because at that conference you will find your community, and you will also gain just countless wisdom and knowledge of things you've not seen before, and that enhances the personal brand. And the final thing I want you to do is that social media audit. Take a look at your numbers. Take a look at where you're showing up. Google yourself, right? You might be surprised when you show up on Google, and then ask yourself, what does this say about me? And is this what I wanted to say about me? Is this where I want to be in the next 4 to 5 years? If it's not, then let's figure out what we want the narrative to look like, and let's change the narrative with a focus on who you want to become online. So that's going to be it for me. I am going to stop sharing my screen now. Y'all can see my screen the whole time, because I feel like y'all didn't see that.
We could, we definitely could. And I know personally, I have really enjoyed the presentation, Star. I think that it is very special that we only had women in this group tonight. I think we connect a little differently when there are no guys around. But for me, it was, again, just very inspirational and aspirational. And I don't know if anybody has any questions or want to give, or wants to give, I should say, some feedback to Star. But I know initially when you had started, I was like, hold on a second now. I have a personal profile, which is very much locked down. And then I have a professional, a brand profile. And when you were speaking, I had this question of how it is that I should separate that. And I think what I've kind of understood is, am I happy with what my personal profile is saying? First of all, that it needs to be locked down to that extent. And I really do appreciate all of the information that you've given. It has sparked something within me. So I am very grateful. Does anybody else?
I'll just say,
sorry, go ahead, sorry.
On that note, Selena, as we wait for anybody else to raise their hand or offer a question, is, it's up to you. So there's no right or wrong answer. There are some people like, no, I really want to keep my private life private. This Beyonce probably have one person on Instagram. It's probably very likely that her and like 5 friends on her Instagram, right? Like a real one, the other one that she posts to the world. But maybe not. Like, you have so many ways to connect now. That could just be WhatsApp groups where you share fun pictures, or, there are different aspects to her life. So I, for example, I have a drink on the weekend with my husband. I'm a Christian, I'm a woman, I'm a TV host. And I don't see that there's a problem with that. And on occasion, you guys will see me post it to my stories, like, oh, look at this cool cocktail, because I think that that's fine. I don't have a personal issue with that. But I recognize that there are some businesses or some churches that may feel differently. So what you're not going to see is me just like jumping off my boat and just like taking shots. I mean, I don't do that regularly, so that probably doesn't apply, right? But the point is that you get to guide what you put online. You get to guide what was shared in your family chat versus what's shared online. But what people need to recognize is that we are fully human, so that it's okay to be a full person. Like, yeah, guys, I go out and dance. Like, I love to dance. I went to the jazz spot at Bahamas the other night on a Monday, and it was lit, and I had the time of my life, right? And so you're not going to see 10 pictures of me doing it. But if I felt like I had a great picture with a friend and the friend shares it, I don't have a problem with that, because I'm a full human and I get to enjoy all these aspects of my life. And so I just want us to be aware that we get to honor all of us, right? And the idea that we have to be one way is a falsehood, because it's not real. And that's where the authenticity comes in, right? Now, it's just a matter of gauging what is necessary for public consumption and what's not. What gets to stay personal for me and what's not, right? And that's it. But it's not a matter of saying, I don't do these things, or my profile shouldn't look this way, because you're a human being and you get to have fun.
Thank you, Star. I think it is what my personal profile looks like, that it is concerning me to make that public. But again, what it did was it did inspire that conversation of what is it that I want that to say about me, that internal conversation. So I think that's important. I love the nothing to defend, nothing to hide, nothing to protect, because what I'm hearing then is, once I figure out what it is that I want that to say, that's when my audacity and my be bold comes out, because now it is that I figured out exactly what it is that I want to present to the world, and I can make that public, because it should complement then my business image, because then it gives you a different aspect and a facet of me. And so I love these ideas that came forth tonight, and it kind of helped me out of a place where I was a little bit stuck as well as to what to do with that profile. So I'm very appreciative. Guys, I can't be the only one that is like super excited now to like figure out what kind of 30 pictures or quotes or everything that I'm gonna do once I remove all of the things that should be there. But is there any questions for Star? Feel free to unmute. You don't have to raise your hand. You can feel free to unmute and even just give some feedback on how it is that you found the presentation. Is everybody shy? Okay. I think you've made everybody speechless, and I think there's a lot of work and a lot of and you know it's good because there's a lot of thought that needs to kind of go in. I know from my end again, as to how it is that I'd like to get this done. Star, I know you're a very busy woman, and I really do appreciate your time and the time that you've shared and your wisdom and your knowledge. And
What's the question? Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Ajua.
Sorry, took a second to unmute. I just want to say thanks, Star. I enjoyed your presentation. That was a lot to take in, so I definitely need that recording, Selena, so I could look over it. My comment was that I love your post of the little people. So now that I have big people, I'm reliving the life of young motherhood through your post on little people. But I wanted to ask about your, what do you choose as a consistent thread to weave through your stories that you post on your personal brand? Like how do you choose, you know, that one thing or that few things that's going to be like that brings in the consistency for the story?
So the way that you can approach this, it really depends on what you're hoping to get from your profiles, right? So on my LinkedIn, you're gonna find that I post a lot more stuff related to, oh, I'm giving a talk tonight, I'm speaking tonight, or here's some feedback from something that I did recently. These are some of the key points that I shared. And so what that does is it's a reminder to people in the business industry, oh, I can hire to give speeches, right? Or in particular, I coach lots of executive women, and I'm open to coaching men. None have come so far, and that's fine. But I coach a lot of executive women who are my ideal clients, and it reminds them that if they want to learn better speaking, better personal branding, oh, I should reach out to Star, right? And so because LinkedIn is a platform for professionalism, that's how I tend to use that one more. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't share like my husband's Eden Farms post and say, oh, I'm so proud of him and his business, and you know, love you, right? Whatever that may be. Because again, it's celebrating and sharing what the platform is built for, but also showing a personal side of me, which is very real and other people should see. On something like an Instagram, which is my personal favorite because it just allows me to be as creative as I want to be. I kind of always tell people you can narrow down to 3 to 5 things, right? So if you look at your Instagram grid right now, which is normally 3 across and you'll get about 3 down, so you'll see about 9 pictures. What do those say to you? Are there words that come up for you based on what you see on your own profile? So for me, I would say that my words are, you know, family, faith, fashion, and finance or business, right? Like, because those are the things that I would share on most. And so my stuff is gonna fit that. You're gonna see lots of pictures of my family. I sell a style course, so there's lots of stuff around fashion because it's also something I love and absolutely enjoy. There's gonna be stuff around my faith, and so a lot of my motivational, inspirational posts are gonna be there, and it's gonna be related to scriptures because that's what guides me. And then you're gonna see stuff with me sharing on my business, so talking about speaking, talking about communication, sharing stories, and then telling people this is a technique that I'm using. If you want to learn more, this is where you can learn more, you know. And so those are the things you're going to see most consistently because they speak to me, and they also speak to the type of client that I want to have, right? So the clients that I want to have are interested in adding to the community service and giving. And so family doesn't bother them. Family is a joy for them, right? They're going to be interested in faith for the most part because I talk a lot about God. So I have spoken in so many audiences, and I'm so blessed to do it, of people who are Muslims and Hindus, who are atheists and agnostic. And it's a blessing that my faith does not deter them from listening. But obviously, if we're going to be coaching, especially in a one-on-one environment, I'm going to bring you back to God a lot. So you need to know, like, that's who I am. And if that ain't a thing, then maybe we're not a fit, right? Not that I will turn you away, but if it makes you uncomfortable with me praying or me referring to a scripture, then we may not be a fit. So it's good that you know that about me in advance, and you can see that from my profile. So it really just comes down to what is the purpose in which I'm even engaging in this medium? Is it for business? Am I looking to make sales? Am I looking to connect with possible clients? Because if it is, then what you're going to want to share on that is going to be relevant to those clients that you want to attract. If it is, this is just for family and this is just for fun, then who are you as a fun person and what do you want to share, right? Even as an influencer. So I also make money marketing for companies using my profile. I want to be connected with companies that have similar values. So do you care about families? Do you care about community? Do those things matter to you? Because they really matter to me, and you're going to see that content reflected, right? But every client that a lot of these businesses have, they go to drink on the weekend, maybe they go to travel, so they enjoy life. And so it's important that people get to see this well-rounded perspective of what life looks like for me as a wife, as a mom, as a mother, as somebody who's a woman that gets to have fun and enjoy life.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Ajua, in the end, that was long, but just think about 3 to 5 words that you want to describe you and your feed, and then create content related directly to those 3 to 5 words.
Yes, I was writing as you talked.
Okay.
Ajua, do you have like a notebook full of stuff?
I see
Yes,
Gabriella
I
asking a question.
surrounded my paper.
I see Gabriella asking a question, so I'll answer her.
Sure.
Hey, Gabriella. So I will tell you that I'm not an introvert. So I will honestly say that, my answer might be biased because that's not my challenge. But what I will tell you is, though I'm not an introvert, I'm very big. Like, I can be on TV, I can stand in front of a large audience. That's very easy for me. What is hard for me and was hard for me for a long time, authentic connection, right? Because I will talk on a stage, I can't talk to you one-on-one. I get that ain't my thing, right? I always feel like I need to, shut person one-on-one. Large group, jokes, laughter, nothing serious, but anything beneath the surface was very hard for me. And so what I had to learn to do was to practice more, to force myself in my past 4 years of self-development. After I give a talk, to go and talk to someone one-on-one, to learn more about them, to be open, to put myself in the situation to break out of that. And then as I grew in terms of believing in myself, believing in what I had to offer, listening to the right music, reading the right books, going to the right retreat so I could have sessions that allowed me to heal on certain issues, then the easier it became to show up as my authentic self. So as an introvert, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but I would ask you to ask yourself, what is the point for me? What is my purpose in this? And if it is that you just want to advance in your career, then can you share some career related stuff, right? Can you let us know if you're in accounting, that it's accounting season, and what are some things we should be looking for in terms of setting up our budgets? What are some things we should remember about that filing? Like, based on the industry that you're in, could you share on that? I would say find the thing that you're comfortable in sharing, even if it's not about you personally, and build your credibility around that thing. And then you just want to get the right coaches and mentors to kind of gas you up and remind you to use the real deal, Gabrielle. You ain't got nothing to be shy about, because this knowledge you've given, we want to get it, right? And so just the more that you practice consistently, and the more that you have a hype team behind you, coaches, mentors, accountability groups, people to cheer you on, the easier this stuff becomes. So I hope that was helpful for you. You're welcome.
Hey guys, do we have any more questions for Star?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hi, Star. It's Shay. How are you?
I'm good, Shay. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. So I'm a cosmetic scientist, and I think I've struggled to be consistent in putting myself out there or building my personal brand, because I struggle with falling into line with the typical science-based influencer strategy, which is usually offering, very research-driven content of, this is what you should do here and when, and this is, some information on the industry, and it usually has references in the first comment or whatever. And that's fine. That is obviously, has a lot of value to it. It's consistent with who I am, what I do, but it's not authentic for me. And I think that because that I personally am not sitting down reading research papers day in and day out. So I've struggled to make that my thing, even though it is my thing. And so I was just wondering if you had any advice for just mapping out your personal brand in your own way, without falling into the trap of, I guess, doing what everyone else is doing in your industry, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that I know self be true is always going to be key. And I love people who are very story science space because I get to teach them, like, you can share information, but storytelling is everything, right? So I offer a storytelling course, and Tris Monroe and I were going to do for our Speak in Media event, an accelerator program that's all about like just story crafting and showing up as a leader, what that looks like. And it's so important for me because people think that because you're informational in terms of the type of speaker you are, you can't share stories. But you sound, sis, I could just tell from your voice, like you was fun. Like I can already feel your vibes and your energy, right, Shay? So I think you have to take the information that other people would share and create fun stories around it. So I could be messing up your science, totally forgive me for taking like liberty with taking your words and putting them into mine. But if you say that you are a cosmetic scientist, to my mind, that has to do with like maybe beauty. And so if that's the case, I would share stories about maybe a personal experience. So in my instance, I might say, for a very long time, I didn't feel like I could show up in certain spaces because I felt overweight. And because I felt overweight, I didn't think like that these spaces would be accepting of me. But I've learned over time that we all have things that we want to work on and improve. And if we can keep working at it, then we got to show up just as we are. We are good enough as we are. Have you ever had any of those experiences? Well, I can tell you from a science perspective that one of the very first things that you can do is read more books. We found that the more that you read books, the more that your mind is open to absorbing new information, including the way that you feel about yourself. The second thing I can tell you from a science perspective is that if you are concerned about losing weight, you can just start by making 2 simple changes to your eating habits. I know it's hard to give up rice and plantain. Try for 2 weeks, let me know how it goes. The third thing I can tell you as a cosmetic scientist is that your skin is going to look better the more water that you drink. I know I would prefer that you pay me for more products, but if you can just drink some more water, you're already halfway there. If you want some more information and resources, you can head over to my blog. I talk some more about it there, right? So that's just like a sample, but it's a fun way of storytelling related to you. And then you get to give this information as well, right? And so I would say, sis, own your space, like have fun, create reels. Like, there are 3 different types of pink makeup and all of them pigment our skins differently. You can simply do the reel with the hand, show me the first one, reel with the second one. And then if there are resources that you want to share, you can post it at a link or in your stories, right? But like, feel free to engage as creatively as you want. There's no standard except your standard. And the more authentic you are with yourself, the more you're going to find that people who are just like you, they're science-based as well, but they like to have fun. They want to engage in a different way. They will be attracted to you, right? And the people who are just very linear, like they just want to read stuff the way it's always been done, will be attracted to some other people. But that's fine because it wasn't your people anyway.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So there's no rule book. It's all about how can I have the most fun showing up in my way, and then being comfortable that whether that's 2,000 people or 200,000 people, that I've shown up for them in a way that they can relate to.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Star. Is there any more, are there any more questions for us, or for Star, I should say? Okay. Going once, going twice, 3 times. Okay. So again, how do you get a class with you is the question that came through the chat.
Okay, so Deandra, there are 2 ways. The first, you can go to homeofstars.com and there should be like a list of some things there. I gotta ask my website girl, she put the latest class on there. I do not know. I know for sure that there's a camera confidence waiting list on there. So you can sign up for that if you're interested in that. If not, you can always send me a message on Instagram at Home of Stars on Instagram and I will get it. Or if you would like to be a part of my email list, because that's where like everybody gets the latest information on what's up and what we're doing next, you can just send an email to Anastarcia, that's ANASTARCIA, Huyler, HUYLER @gmail.com, and just say, hey, I was in the class today. I'd love to learn more about what you offer, and I'll get back to you and make sure that you get all the details for anything that's coming up.
Deandra, did you get that? I didn't have a chance to put the email in the chat, but did you get everything that you needed?
I am typing in chat right now.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, so I think what we're going to do is wrap up now. Star, I know we've taken up your time, but I think it was time very, very, very well spent. And again, you guys have Star's contact information. Please look her up. And again, the webinar will be available via your email addresses. So look out for that by next week. And it will also be posted to the social sites that we had mentioned before. So the Alumni Facebook page on Facebook. We have our alumni social site on Instagram as well. And I'm actually just going to pull those links and just stick them in the chat before we go. And we also have a WhatsApp group. So you can stay in touch for more information on our webinars and all of our activities JA based. Okay. All right. So thank you again, Star. Thank you everyone for attending and spending your evening with us. And we will see you next time at our JA Alumni webinar. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.